Thank you, last but not least. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I draw colleagues' attention to my entry in the Register of Members' Interests. Let me start by replying to a point the Honourable Member for the City of Durham made at the beginning. She referred to the government's house building record, and let me say it is a fine one, because the last year of the last government, Labour government, only 125,000 housing units were started. Last year that had increased to 165,000 units. So this government has a record it can be proud of when it comes to building new homes. Let me also reply to a point the Honourable Lady made and the Chairman of the Select Committee made about the need to increase supply more generally. And that is a point I think members on this side will wholeheartedly agree with. And of course there is much in this bill which their lordships have thankfully not chosen to disagree with, which will increase supply, not least local development orders, not least the requirement to have local plans in place by 2017, and not least the work of the London Land Commission. So there is a huge amount in this bill that will increase supply, as members opposite have requested. Let me say now a word in support of starter homes. 86% of the citizens of this country aspire to own their own homes, and starter homes will help them do that. And by owning their own homes, they will benefit economically as house values go up and as they pay down their mortgages, and social benefits accrue too. We've heard a lot from members opposite about the importance of settled and rooted communities. What better way is there to have a settled and well-established community than a community of people who own their own homes? And we've heard about affordability from members opposite, but they have often spoken about the ceiling, the £450,000 in London, £250,000 outside London. That is a ceiling, that is a maximum. Let me take my borough, a London borough, Croydon, the largest London borough by population. In my borough, the average starter home will be £190,000. That means with Help to Buy, a deposit of £10,000 will secure that, and a couple earning £22,500 each will be able to afford to service the mortgage. So in Croydon, in the London borough of Croydon, starter homes will work. And to the point about increasing the supply of council houses, I will firstly respectfully point out that in the last 5 years of Conservative government, we built more than the previous 13 years under Labour. But I would further point out that under the disposal of high-value council house rules, outside London, for every one that's sold, one will be replaced, and inside London, it will be 2 for 1. So these measures will actually increase the supply of council housing across London as a whole, and should therefore be welcomed. And just briefly on this amendment about the 20 years discount, well, the problem with that is that if somebody wants to move from their starter home, they need to realise the full market value in order to move on up the property ladder to their second and then their third home. And I believe that we may see regulations that will allow for a sliding scale between perhaps 5 and 10 years or somewhere in that region. And given the average length of time in a property is about 7 years, that makes sense. And as far as the amendment about the local authorities being able to override or sort of circumvent starter home provisions, I must say this was a national manifesto commitment passed by the electorate at the general election, and it is quite right that it is implemented on a national basis. And local issues are fully accounted for via the 20% discount to open market value, so it reflects local housing needs. Madam Deputy Speaker, Mr. Deputy Speaker, a remarkable transformation's occurred. There is more I can say, but I think we'd like to hear from the Minister. So I support the government's position on these amendments and look forward to supporting them in the division lobby this evening.